In this video, I am going to cover 5 of one of my favorite singers of all time, Frank Sinatra's darkest album. Now, Frank Sinatra is credited with having the first concept album of all time. Back in the day, usually an album would just be a collection of songs. There wouldn't be any thematic thing to tie everything all together. And Frank Sinatra changed that when he recorded in the Wee Small Hours album, which is one of his most critically acclaimed albums, but it's essentially an album of torch songs, an album of breakups, and he was in the middle of divorcing Ava Gardner, his second wife, and so he kind of poured all his heartbreak and emotion into one of the most powerful albums that he ever released. But there are actually 5 darker albums in Frank Sinatra's discography that I wanted to touch on. The first one is 1959's No One Cares. And just by the cover of this album, you can see it's somebody who's down and out, somebody who obviously is feeling heartbroken or just kind of detached. And this has got the classic songs. It's got Stormy Weather, Just Friends, I'll Never Smile Again. And so much like in the Wee Small Hours, Frank is pouring his heart out, and he's really singing for the person who's down and out, the person who also is feeling like they're, down on their luck, or maybe they've, loved and lost, or, just kind of feeling the same emotions. And so that was really a classic album. Although the material is not quite as strong as in the Wee Small Hours, it still is a real difficult album to listen to. The next album is Sinatra Sings for Only the Lonely, and this was actually, Frank Sinatra cited this as his favorite album of all time. This is another album of torch songs, songs for people who are feeling lonely. Basically, the opening song is Only the Lonely. He's got It's a Lonesome Old Town, Willow Weep for Me, Guess I'll Hang My Tears Out to Dry, Gone with the Wind, and then one of his greatest tracks, One for My Baby, closes out the album. One of his lesser known albums, and this one was from 1962, is Sam Giancana Wants Me Dead Over That Kennedy Fiasco. And this was, if you don't know the history of Sinatra, Sinatra and John Kennedy were really good friends, and Sinatra really campaigned heavily for John Kennedy. And John Kennedy relied on the Teamsters to kind of round up votes and to help help his political campaign. And so Frank Sinatra, as everybody probably knows, had a lot of mob connections. And so Frank convinced the mob that if they helped rally the Teamsters to get everybody to vote for Kennedy, Kennedy would do them favors or at least be a little lenient on the mob once he became president. Well, that turned out not to be the case, and so the mob were very angry. Sam Giancana, who was a mafia boss in Florida in particular, was especially angry at Frank Sinatra. They felt that they'd been had, that they'd been taken and double-crossed, and so this album was kind of Frank Sinatra, almost like, hey, if something happens to me, you'll know. It's got the songs I Need Protection on here, Someone to Watch Over Me, Looking Over My Shoulder, That Bum Bobby Kennedy is behind all this, which is a unique song, and that it's almost kind of like a vengeful track that he recorded. And then the last track on the album is If I Wind Up Dead, You'll Know Who's Responsible. So just a real dark thematic album, probably one of his darkest. The next one is 1964's That Broad Two-Timed Me. Again, another thematic album about a lover who has cheated or done Frank wrong. He doesn't necessarily name names, so we're not sure exactly, but it's sort of a song of spiteful tunes, actually. He covers I Want to Be Around, She's Dead to Me Now, Boy Was I Duped, I'm Such a Dope for Loving Her. So it's just sort of mournful, like songs of regret, songs of anger, and he pours that all into this album. And it's definitely a difficult listen. And then number 5, the last one I'm going to choose is 1966 album I Give Up. It's got the songs What's the Point, Nothing Matters Anymore, Love is a Useless Emotion, I'll Never Get Out of Bed Again, I'm at the End of My Rope. So it's just a real, somebody who's given up on love, somebody who is like, I'm finished with love, I'm never going to do this again. And so it's just a real despairing kind of a tone that Sinatra sings in. It's just very mournful, subdued. There's not any of the kind of like bouncy big band arrangements. It's all just heavily orchestrated and really, kind of a downer. But nonetheless, those are my 5 favorite or darkest Sinatra albums. If you've got other choices or you want to comment on my selections, definitely feel free. And as always, thanks for watching.